son. 2008 Toyota Yaris with automatic transmission. So this one obviously leaks automatic transmission fluid, and the way I diagnosed it is it had trouble shifting into gear. You press the gas pedal, nothing happens, and then suddenly lurches, and it seemed really dopey and slow at switching gears. So I checked the automatic fluid levels. The dipstick is right here, so you got the airbox here. Move this, and then it pulls right out. It's a dipstick. Dipstick. So, discovered it was pretty much bone dry. I added some fluid, a lot of fluid. Even added some transmission fix goo, about half a bottle, so about 12 fluid ounces, thinking, oh man, the gaskets must be gone on that transmission, but like you just saw, it was just kind of squirting out of that pipe right there. So I said, oh, okay, gonna have to replace that pipe. I mean, you could probably JB weld it, but that's definitely not going to last. So I just got the replacement parts for that. Both those two pipes here. All right, scene missing. This was atrocious. I finally managed to remove everything I needed. So I didn't film it because there's really nothing to film, because I've been at this for like 2 days, because I lacked so many of the tools necessary to get this accomplished, and because of the rust and how little space you're dealing with down there to try to break that damn thing loose. Anyways, I made a bit of space for myself right here by removing the airbox. So to remove the airbox, you have to disconnect this connector. All you do with this connector is you squeeze down on here, on this little tab, and you pull it off. This will allow you to get this thing off. There are 2 latches, which are right here. You want to do these, and you reveal these 2. There'll be 2 bolts here. They are 10mm bolts. There's also 1 bolt here, which is also a 10mm bolt. You loosen it until this clamp comes undone, and then you can remove the box, and it gives you a little bit of extra space. Okay, that hole down there, I removed that one, and of course there's this 90-degree elbow. I removed the pipe out of that one as well. So the way I did that is I used my Dremel angle grinder with a fiberglass wheel attachment, and I just cut through the pipes, just sliced right through them like butter, so that I could get a socket on it. So I used a bolt extractor socket on these things, so it's a 14mm. It really chews it up. That finally allowed me to break them loose. So I used WD-40 rust release penetrant spray several times on it. You just spray it on, let it soak for like 10-15 minutes, and then reapply it again. I reached down with this ratchet extension socket, and I used a hammer to hammer on it to try to get it loose. I also used a plumber's torch to heat it up, and then I shocked it by spraying it with water. I did that several times, so I pretty much used every last trick in the book to avoid stripping the bolt, and finally extracted it. And the way I extracted it is I used this long extension bit here to get down there. It allowed me to get, oh well, that's convenient, to get down there. But also you can see that the 90-degree elbow is sort of rotated, so I used the extension socket to kind of hammer on it a bit, like from the top down. And because this will result in a counterclockwise rotation, it actually broke it loose from the engine block. You can see it, that I can move it. So I'm gonna have to tighten that back up again, but it allowed me to move it, angle it any which way I want. Let me reach down there, show you how I had it. Maybe I had it angled upwards. Upwards like that, so I could get the deep socket in there, this extension bit, and finally broke it loose. And it was so damn difficult, my ratcheting wrench, the gears were slipping, so I had to bust out the breaker bar. So now I've got one more thing to do. I wound up pulling out the entire double fitting. I need to get this one out. It's still stuck in there, but now that it's out, I should have an easier time. Maybe I can put this in a vise and extract this one, and I'm gonna put this one back. Alright, well, there it is. Finally managed to remove it. Thankfully, the threads on this one are still look alright to me. I'm gonna clean this out before I put it back. Don't forget to put the rubber gasket back on. That's gonna go right there. You see that hole? That's where that's gonna go. Alright, I got that in there. It's 17 millimeter socket, if that's how you want to try doing it. I just tightened it with this 17 millimeters. Now it's time for the new one. That's gonna go in there. I never did figure out how to unclasp this thing, so I actually just pulled them through, and you can do that. And it has the this rubber bushing attached to it, so I'm just gonna squeeze that in there. Right, so I squeezed that in. Be very, very gentle when you are putting it into that clip, because you don't want to scratch the paint off, because if you do, that thing's just gonna rust up on you again and cause a leak all over again. Don't want to do that. For reference, I'm going to need a J clip because the old one rotted off. So these, they look virtually the same. One's black, one's silver. So these two, these are J clips. This one's an R clip. Alright, that's all set. I just used a pair of needle nose pliers to squeeze the clip and slip it on. Now we're gonna screw it in over there. Okay, disregard what I just said about trying to thread it in. I don't know what it was, but it was an absolute bear to try to thread it in, thread the pipe into this piece here. So I pulled it all out and I tightened it before putting it in. So just use a 17 millimeter, 14 millimeter wrench and just kind of counter twist. It should look something like this when finished. Now I'm gonna put it back in there. I mean, that I'm incompetent is a given. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It's just, I couldn't thread it for the life of me. Okay, found out another secret. Don't tighten it all the way, because if you do, you won't be able to rotate it around the pipe anymore. So, tighten it, I don't know, up until maybe like 4 threads. Alright, that pipe's done. Looks like that was the magic sauce. Here you gotta squeeze the pipe on to the second notch. There's 2 notches on the pipe. Just put it onto the second one and throw the clip on there with a pair of needle nose pliers. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. So like I was saying before, I have this 90-degree fitting loose, but now I tighten again. This nut here, 17 millimeter nut, that's the one you tighten to make it stop moving. It's all hooked up. That's about as tight as it goes. You can count the threads. Maybe only 2 threads left. All I've got left is putting that hose back on. Removing the pipe out of the hose was also a nightmare. There's like corrosion and stickiness going on. I would have been up shit's creek without this tool. I'll put a link in the description for this. Very handy. Can also be very dangerous because you can easily poke a hole through your hose with this. But if you're careful and if you wedge it in just right, it's a real big help. Note about these J clips. They come from the factory already squeezed for you, so it's in your best interest to do this first try, because otherwise it'll snap open and it'll be much harder for you to squeeze these with needle nose pliers. Alright, so that's all been put on. Now it's time to add some automatic transmission fluid. So Toyota sells their special formula for $10 a quart, which is the same price that you pay for generic brand at a car parts store, so why not? You're gonna want a really long funnel, and when pouring, just be very patient. Pour it slow. It'll wind up spilling if you go too fast. Now, if you recall in the beginning of the video, I didn't actually wind up draining the automatic transmission fluid because I was lazy and I didn't feel like lifting the car. But when I disconnected the hoses, a little bit dripped out, but not too much. It's not like it came pouring out there, so I don't think you really need to drain it necessarily. Well, you probably should and put brand new fluid. This takes about 4.5 quarts of the stuff, I want to say. So yeah, just a little over a gallon is the capacity of the transmission. In my case, it was bone dry, so I don't need to undo the plug there at the bottom. Put that airbox back in. These are 2 10mm bolts. Air filter back. Top cover back on. Remember that the clips are opposite of each other, so one comes from this side of the car, this one comes from that side of the car. In. Don't forget about the mass airflow sensor. In. Tighten this guy. Also, I believe 10mm, could actually be smaller. Alright, well, all the tools are cleaned out, not much else to do but test the car and look for leaks. I see a little bit coming out over there, so I'm just going to turn that engine off, tighten it, then I'll drive around, and yeah, that's about it. So, is it possible to do this job without removing the front? Yes. Is it worth it? I don't know. Even with the front, you gotta remove the bumper, the fan assembly, the radiator, and then you're gonna have to, catch all the coolant and, have to bleed the radiator, get all the air out of it. I don't know. It kind of sounds like a pain in the neck to me. All told, in parts, it's about $80 from the dealer. And that includes automatic transmission fluid. It's pretty cheap, it just requires a biblical amount of patience. So, the code is still on. Obviously, I don't know if it'll go away on its own or if I'm gonna have to reset it on my own. We'll see what happens, but let's go out for a drive and see how it behaves. I gotta say, it is shifting smooth as butter right now. It goes into gears, no problem, there's no delay. I press the gas pedal and it goes into gear instantaneously. It's nice, it's a good feeling. Oh yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button for more random ass shit. What the fuck? I don't know.